engines that wrote their own obituaries. Most mechanical breakdowns end with blinkers flashing on the side of the highway. These failures ended up in news reports. Over 100 years of machines built for speed, strength, and progress. A rare group of engines became infamous, not only for failing, but for taking lives, turning ordinary commutes, test sessions, and racing laps into fatal stories. This isn't a collection of bloopers. It's a record of disasters. Here are 10 power plants whose defects proved deadly and the severe lessons they forced into engineering standards. Number 10. Chevrolet Vega 2300, the aluminum time bomb. In 1970, Chevrolet placed their hopes in a lightweight 2.3-liter aluminum block with an iron head. A small car with a big promise, undone by basic physics. The two metals expanded at mismatched rates, and the undersized cooling setup, lacking even an overflow tank, gave drivers no safety margin. Run slightly low on coolant, and the cylinders warped, the walls scuffed, and at worst, coolant invaded the oil, turning the crankcase into a viscous milkshake. When one of these engines locked up, it didn't politely sputter, it froze solid. At highway speeds in a rear-drive layout, that meant instant fishtailing. Mechanics nicknamed it GM's grenade, and warranty offices drowned in claims. Beneath the jokes was a fatal truth. Cooling capacity isn't optional. The Vega showed Detroit that shaving ounces off thermal systems can cost human lives. Number 9. Ford Pinto 2.3L, the budget car with a funeral pyre. The Pinto's inline-4 wasn't the danger. Its fuel system placement was. The tank sat directly behind the axle with almost no protection, while pointed bolts aimed at it like weapons. Even modest rear impacts could puncture the tank, and the awkward filler neck design tore away during crashes, spraying gasoline toward hot components. Victims often survived the hit. They didn't survive the fire. Passengers were trapped as flames raced through the cabin within seconds. The real outrage wasn't just the engineering, it was the ethics. Internal cost analyses, lawsuits, and massive penalties forced the world to rethink crash energy, fuel tank design, and corporate responsibility. A tough lesson. A decent little four-cylinder up front can't redeem a layout that turns collisions into cremations. Number 8. Porsche 917 Flat 12, the power plant of the Widowmaker. On paper, roughly 580 horsepower pushing only 1,800 pounds. In reality, a tail-heavy monster with an early aero design that generated lift at high speed. Hit the throttle mid-corner, and the back end snapped sideways quicker than any driver could respond. Mechanical injection issues occasionally dumped excess fuel, causing sudden power spikes. Drivers called it a missile with an unreliable guidance system. Only relentless development and redesigned long-tail aerodynamics eventually tamed it. The reputation stuck because it was earned through wrecks and deaths. Lesson: explosive power is as deadly as no power at all. Consistency doesn't look glamorous, but it keeps drivers alive. Number 7. Wright R3350 Duplex Cyclone. Fire waiting in the wings. 18 cylinders in 2 rows produced massive output and catastrophic heat. Rear cylinders ran so hot that valves broke, punching holes through pistons. Leaking fuel reached glowing manifolds, and magnesium housings added their own inferno. If you've never witnessed magnesium burn, know this. Standard extinguishers are practically decorative. On B-29s, an engine fire could eat through wing structure in under 2 minutes. Many pilots and crews died before the aircraft even saw combat. Eventually, metallurgy improved, procedures evolved, and the R3350 became historic, but only after a brutal cost. Its message: fail at heat control, and the aircraft becomes its own fire starter. Number 6. Rolls-Royce Merlin, the negative G silence trap. The Merlin helped protect Britain, but its early float-type carburetor hit a lethal flaw. Push the stick forward into -G, and fuel sloshed away from the jets, instantly starving the engine. German pilots exploited this, diving straight down, knowing Spitfires and Hurricanes couldn't pursue without killing their own engines. A temporary fix, Miss Schilling's orifice, reduced the problem until fuel injection arrived. But many pilots died in training and combat after pushing too soon or too low to recover. The real solution was procedural. Roll inverted first, then dive while keeping +G. A harsh truth. Sometimes the danger lies not in pistons or rods, but in the way fuel is metered. What the first 5 teach us. Look closely and a pattern emerges, written in tragedy. Packaging versus physics. Vega and Pinto show clever layout means nothing without safety margins. Power versus control. The 917 proves speed without stability is just momentum looking for a wall. Heat versus durability. The R3350 reveals that thermal failure turns machines into accelerants. Number 5. Pratt & Whitney R4360 WAS Major. The giant with teeth. 28 cylinders, 4 rows, over 3,000 horsepower, and maintenance requirements reminiscent of a rocket launch. Rear cylinders cooked, valve trains endured enormous stress, and startup backfires could torch anyone standing poorly positioned. On B-36 bombers and Stratocruisers, gearbox issues could escalate into flying shrapnel. Lose a rear cylinder in flight, and heat could devour mounts until the entire engine tried to detach. Pilots learned, with radials this huge, temperature control and procedural discipline aren't guidelines. They are survival. Number 4. Detroit Diesel 6V92, the Urban Boom Box, a compact 2-stroke V6 with blower scavenging and a turbo stacked above, ideal for city buses until failure struck. The turbo's compound boost setup spun at immense speeds while swallowing exhaust heat non-stop. When seals failed, hot oil hit glowing turbine housings and caused explosions that tore through thin bulkheads. Wet liners and delicate sealing meant rushed rebuilds were a gamble. And when a rear engine bus failed, cabins filled with smoke and oil mist before passengers understood what was happening. Cities kept them because they were cheap and powerful, but the nickname Detroit Shrapnel didn't come from thin air. Solutions eventually included stronger turbos, better shielding, and stricter procedures. Survival. Number 3. General Electric J79, the Starfighter's coin toss, mounted in the Lockheed F-104. The J79 pushed 1950s compressor tech to its limits. When everything aligned, it was brilliant. When it wasn't, it was vicious. At high angles or with sloppy throttle handling, the long compressor stalled with a gunshot crack. Thrust dropped to 0 instantly, just when the F-104's tiny wings needed every pound. Early ejection seats fired downward because of the T-tail, giving low-altitude pilots almost no chance. Restart procedures were memorized to the second. Number 2, window, and you Junkers Jumo 004, the jet age's ticking clock. The first mass-produced jet engine powered the Me-262 and devoured itself regularly. With high-temperature alloys unavailable, Germany built turbines from inadequate materials. Hollow blades stretched, cracked, and broke after only tens of operating hours. Throttle up too fast? Flame out. Throttle down too slowly? You lost the fight. Multiple aircraft were lost on approach when both engines quit during delicate power changes. Innovative, historic, and fatally ahead of its metallurgy. Its warning carries through decades. Never ask materials to exceed their physical limits. Onus, the ghost throttle era of the 1980s, early electronic engine management across several brands brought turbo performance and unpredictable throttle behaviors while engineers learned to tame the software. Number 1. Lycoming OIO 540, the silent executioner. Not exotic, not monstrous, just everywhere. 6 air-cooled cylinders powering thousands of small planes used for training and family flying. Its danger isn't dramatic explosions, it's quiet failure. Carbureted versions can accumulate ice in conditions that fool newcomers: mild temperatures, visible moisture, and partial power. Ice forms in the venturi. Airflow drops. The engine weakens and then stops. Recognize it too late or apply carb heat incorrectly and you're flying a powerless glider with seconds to choose a landing spot. Even injected variants, IO 540, have their own traps. Vapor lock after hot shutdowns, sneaky induction leaks, and fuel system quirks that demand disciplined checklists. Which of these engines unsettled you the most and why? Have you worked on a 6V92, flown behind a big radial, or been surprised by carb ice under a calm sky? Share your experience below, and if there's another notorious engine we missed, nominate it. We'll break it down next.